Hello again. I have to start off by apologizing for my parents. I had an epileptic incident and my head had an apparent disagreement with the sidewalk as to how hard it was. There's an old saying, never meet your heroes because they're sure to disappoint you. This is one of those stories. I had always assumed that by the time a person had been nominated to the post of a United States District Judge, that they would have proven themselves to be a diligent, meticulous, fair, and an expert in the law. When Robert Lee Pitman was confirmed and took office on October 3rd of 2011, I was surprised and thrilled that we had ourselves our first openly gay district judge, especially in the Western District of Texas. This was a man who holds a master's degree in international human rights law from the University of Oxford. So when I needed to file a case concerning the abusive treatment that I received at the hands of the Travis County Sheriff's Office, I felt confident that I would be treated fair. However, I found the entire process insurmountable. I realized that this would be the case from the beginning. I realized I would be up against an entire team of extremely well-paid lawyers who would not be interested in finding the truth, but only in limiting the liability of the county. I had no experience in the law. I only knew that what happened to me was wrong. I called numerous lawyers in an attempt to find anyone willing to help me. Two of the lawyers I contacted told me that I was going to have an extremely difficult time, as most lawyers did not want the retaliation that comes along with catching the ire of Travis County. Only one of the dozens of lawyers that I contacted was willing to accept my case. However, as a disabled veteran, unable to work, it wasn't possible for me to pay his requested fee. So I requested that the court assign me a lawyer to help me, and of course this was denied. I spent almost 2 years researching and preparing just a file. This was difficult for me, as I'm often unable to type, read, or even think straight due to epilepsy, transient partial paralysis, and PTSD. While preparing, I chose only to include accusations that I knew that I could prove, provided that I could obtain the video evidence. I found that the county was responsible for preserving this video evidence. In their internal documentations, the Sheriff's Department discussed the possibility of a lawsuit. During a use of force incident against me, the officers discussed requesting the video evidence. Officer Johnson, the violent perpetrator of this incident, pointed to a camera in the room and screamed at me to go ahead and sue him. There's a camera right there. After I was released, I requested this video evidence from the county. I received a response stating that there was no video evidence available. When I filed, I requested through discovery for the video. The response was that the sheriff's policy was to destroy video evidence after 30 days. I requested a copy of this policy. They responded stating that a DVR was not working. I requested documentation on the DVR system and backups. This time they responded stating that the cameras were not working, and for security purposes that they would not be providing documentation on any equipment. I again requested documentation for which cameras were not working, and was finally provided with documentation that did not indicate that the cameras in question were not working. I was not provided with information as to backup systems or the failed DVR. I was not provided with any documentation as to anyone requesting the video evidence be preserved as required by their own policy and law. Finally, I requested summary judgment based on the county's failure to preserve. This, of course, was denied. I looked into obtaining depositions from the plaintiffs and found that there was no possibility of affording even a single deposition. I admit, in my opinion, I broke the law. Not the law that I was accused of, but I did break the law. I conspired with a prosecutor and a judge to accept a plea agreement for a crime that I did not commit. They both, and I, were well aware that I had not broken the law. The prosecutor even refused to say that I had broken the law. Her words were that I had been cutesy with the law. I was required to swear under oath that I was doing so without threat or promise. However, I was threatened. I was told by the same judge that if I would not pay $100,000, I would be returned to the place where I had been tortured, threatened, and unjustly punished for an indeterminate amount of time, where I was sure I would die. I was promised by the prosecutor that if I agreed to her terms, that I would be released the same day. In Judge Robert Lee Pitman's final judgment in this case, I believe that he simply copied and pasted the county's defendant's motion for summary judgment. The final judgment states, Leeper admits that his housing in Building 12 was ADA compliant and does not refute Travis County's representation that he spent the vast majority of his time in the jail in Building 12. This is exactly the opposite of the truth. I was asked in deposition I was asked this in the deposition. The deposition transcripts show that I did not agree. I clearly outlined this in the plaintiff's response in opposition to the defendant's motion for summary judgment. The county stated, plaintiff grudgingly admits that the vast majority of his time he was housed appropriately by being assigned to Building 12. The foregoing matters clearly demonstrate the plaintiff's assignment to Building 2 was the result of a classification error, not for purposes of punishment or based on his disability. I, the plaintiff, did not at any time admit, grudgingly or otherwise, that the vast majority of the time I was housed appropriately. Building 12 is not ADA compliant. It's much closer than Building 2, but still does not meet ADA requirements. I'll be going into this in depth in future videos. This is but a single example in this one case alone of what I can only describe as either incompetence or the corruption of Judge Pitman. His judgment in this case, I'm certain, has pleased Travis County. The sheriff's officers can rest assured that their abuse, discrimination, and crimes will not only be ignored, but condoned by this man. This man is undeserving of the position and the privilege of being a judge anywhere at all. Thank you for watching my video.